welcome to episode 28 of the podcast. Today I really struggled with what to talk about, but there's something that I've had in my drafts. I haven't really written it out, just like a thought that I wanted to explore, which is around my guiding principles in life and how I arrived at them and what they mean to me. I haven't actually written it out, so I'm just going to be talking on the fly and let's see how it goes. A couple of months back, I was thinking about my guiding principles. What are the things that are at the base of all or many of the decisions that I make? Because in every situation, you can't take time to run through multiple decision making frameworks, and you have to just think about your core foundational principles in life and let that determine how you react in situations. And when I was thinking about it, I wrote some things down. And then I remember that in 2020, I had done this coaching program with Mrs. Ibukun Aoshika. And one of the exercises we had to do there was to write our values. There was a week where the assignment was to write about your values, how you arrived at them, and how well you are living up to them. And I was very pleased to see that my values have pretty much remained consistent since 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and now. And even then, when I was writing those values, I was referring to things from previous years. So, like, consistently over the past 6-7 years, since I've been thinking about values and guiding principles and things, whatever way you want to frame it, I pretty much had the same values and guiding principles. My number one guiding principle / value in this life is integrity. I believe that somebody's integrity is one of the most important things about them, and your reputation. And I think as far back as when I was in secondary school is when I really first defined this as a life value, and it was in terms of my academic performance. So from primary school, I've always been great at school. And when I was in secondary school, I realized that beyond personal guilt and disappointment that I will feel if I cheated on an exam, I also felt like how people will now have doubts about my previous academic success because if I did something stupid like that. So whenever I thought about that, I thought about the sense of my person and being someone of integrity. Was like, I would never ever ever cheat in an exam, and I can boldly and confidently say that I have never cheated in an exam. And it has just translated over the years into things like I was the person that nobody wanted to sit down beside during exams, and I was fine with that because I will not even answer you. I'm so sorry. I won't help you cheat, and I wouldn't cheat. And it was just, that is where I really became fixed on this particular value, and it has followed me through my life, basically. And that's my number one guiding principle: to live in a way that is honest to who I am. I mean, there are times where I have not done so. Like I talked about in the episode where I talked about the thing that I regret the most, which was not showing up as my full self with integrity in that moment. I didn't answer the question in the way that the real me would have wanted to answer it. I answered it how I thought they would have wanted what I thought they wanted to hear, basically. And yeah, so integrity, number one. Another strong value for me / guiding principle is around respecting other people by not talking about them or sharing their secrets or telling other people things they have told me in confidence. And this came from just having experienced something like that, where I told someone something in confidence and I started hearing it from other places, and that really hurt my feelings. And I was like, I never want to make anybody feel this way ever in my life. And since then, it's just something that I consciously try to do. Even when other people are gossiping about people around me or something, I try to I stay out of it. And I've been challenging myself now to even like call it out and say I'm not participating in this conversation. Not while I'm here. You can have this conversation somewhere else, but not before me. Like, I don't even want to listen to those kinds of things happening. And it's really like just treat other people how I would want to be treated, and also to remain somebody that is trustworthy. And given the fact that my at that time I wanted to be a psychologist therapist, it just didn't make any sense for me to not have that as a value. Like, if I want to be a therapist, people will be confiding in me about things. If I'm a coach, people are confiding in me about things, and I can't then be telling those things to everyone or to other people. That is breaking their trust. So yeah, those are the two reasons why that became something that is very core to my belief and the things that I value, basically. My third guiding principle and personal value is generosity. And it's not just in terms of finances or money, but about giving my time, my resources, myself, my skills to help other people whenever I can, however I can. And the caveat is that I do not do this to my own detriment. So it's be generous to the point where I'm not harming myself or harming someone else. So if I don't have the time, I would decline. Or but the important thing is to be helpful. So even if I can't help you personally, I will find someone else that I can hand you over to that may be better suited to help you in that moment. But yeah, basically generosity is a key value for me, and it's just like, I don't know where, I can't really place where this came from. But I think it's just how I've always been helping others. My mom always tells this story of when I started primary school, or nursery school, whatever, when I first started school, and they took me to school, and you know how children are always crying when they start school. My mom said I didn't cry. I didn't cry. I ran into the class. I was so happy, and I was comforting all the other kids who were crying. So there you have it. That is where that came from, I guess. Just the desire and the value of helping other people whenever I can is core to my personal values, personal identity, personal values. So, integrity slash honesty, um, generosity slash being helpful, and trustworthiness slash keeping other people's confidence. Those are like the three things that I've constantly seen throughout my life's journey as things that are key values to me. And other things that I think about or that I have thought about that I layer on onto those three base things are always be willing to try. That wouldn't be, I wouldn't call it a value necessarily, but more of a guiding principle in how I make decisions is to be willing to try to do something even though I have never done it before, even though it seems scary, or just having a learning approach to things, being willing to learn. I really value learning and education, and I've always loved school. I like learning, and this is just a thing that I try to always do. Another one is excellence. I'm very particular about being excellent in my work. Like, I don't know any other way to be. And I talked a bit about it in the previous episode on the purpose of work. Even when everybody else is doing nonsense, or people are annoying me, or I'm not happy in my workplace, I don't know how to not do great work. Like, it doesn't compute in my brain that I shouldn't do my work to the best of my ability. And so that is also another key value for me, to show up excellently everywhere. Another value that is important to me, and it's kind of linked to the generosity one, is people, friendships, relationships, showing up for people, being there for people, having strong ties. And community is so, so important to me. So building that, sustaining that, enabling that, connecting people, being a connector of people and connecting to people, very, very important to me as well. And when I think about how all of these things show up in my life, and how I can think of many ways in which I even unconsciously make decisions through these points of view. But the number one thing that connects everything I have just said together, all my values, be it the integrity one, the generosity one, treating others as I would like to be treated, learning, community, excellence. I think that the base of it now everything rests on my faith in Jesus. Everything comes out from that place of understanding that Jesus has done all these wonderful things for me, saved me, delivered me. And that means that I can express that love to other people through all of these things and reflect Jesus. So, reflecting Jesus in integrity, in honesty, in excellence, in generosity, and all of those things. And yeah, that's pretty much it. One more thing that is important to me, especially having gone through depressive episodes in the past, is to always find the good in every situation. And when I discovered the fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know what's called concept, it really helped me frame that as well, because now I always just think, unfortunately, this has happened, but fortunately, this has also happened. So always reframing my experiences to see the good in it. And some people call it toxic positivity or whatever, but I don't do that. I acknowledge the bad in the situation, and then I also then reframe and stop focusing on the bad and focus on what is good in that situation, and then think of how to fix what is bad if it is fixable. And if it's not fixable, just leave it to Jesus. If I can't fix it, leave it to Jesus, basically. And yeah, that's it. And if you're wondering, like, how do you, if you've never thought about this thing before, I think you should. I think it's very important. So think about what matters most to you in this life. Like, how do you want to show up in the world? What do you want people to think about you? Like, not in the sense of making people happy, but like when people think of you, what things do you want them to associate with you, basically? So what is important to you? What do you want other people to associate with you? What kind of person do you want to be in life? How do you want to show up in the world? Right? So some people have different priorities of what's important to them, and not values are not necessarily bad or good, although I do think that some values are bad, but let's not go into that. But yeah, just think about how you want to show up in the world and what matters most to you in defining your personal values. And one of the exercises we had to do in that coaching program with Mrs. Aoshika was, in that, for that week, you had to think about, reflect that week on every action you took and decision you made, and see if they aligned with your values. And so if you have values that you have written down already, or you have somewhere mentally, conceptually, think through this week, think daily or at the end of the week, look back and see, how did I live up to these values this week? Thank you for joining me on today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you enjoyed this episode or found any part of it insightful, don't forget to share with your friends on your social media, and be sure to leave a comment or a review if you can on your podcast listening app. Thank you.